Daniel, what are these last few games been like for you?
I'm sweating.
Obviously, you played a lot in the beginning of the games, and you kind of had to sit and watch for the second half. Just what's that been like?
It's been a bit of a process. We got the three big rotation going on again, so we're still trying to figure out, the minutes and stuff with that. So main thing for me is just really just trying not to be frustrated with that instead of, really just coming out and playing. I really don't have anything to say about it that really phases me, because I done been in the three big rotation before, and I understand, we're trying to figure it out, and we want guys to be on the floor at certain times and stuff. So, I just get in where I fit in. That's that's my thing. I stay ready and I stay motivated. I stay positive to be there for my teammates. It was a lot of frustration in the first couple of games when we first started three big rotation, but that was just a lot of frustration with me just personally. I was in foul trouble the first two games with it, and then coming down the stretch, it was just a lot of things that wasn't going my way that I had to figure out on my own. So really, it wasn't any frustration with any type of rotation or anything. It's just like, personal stuff on the floor with me. But the three big rotation and stuff, that's an everyday thing right now, and I just have to deal with it. I can't really get frustrated because that's bringing negative energy to the team. And I don't want to be that guy comes in, oh, I'm not playing, I'm not doing this. That's not me. Whatever it takes to win. Go ahead.
When you are in a rotation like that, kind of what do you hear from the coaches in terms of like what you need to do to be the guy who earns the minutes down the stretch?
No, just stay ready. Some minutes aren't promised, especially in this league. So you just have to stay ready no matter what situation you're in, whether you start and then you get put on the bench or whether you getting brought off the bench. So really just staying ready and staying locked in mentally. That's why you guys see me on the sideline so much, really just in a good mood and trying to stay positive and bring energy to the team because you can make an impact on the sideline too, whether you're playing or not. So I just try to make an impact when I'm on the floor and off the floor. I try to bring my teammates up. I try to do the best I can to really just stay in that positive mindset, not just bring anything too negative to the team. We already have our ups and downs. We already have some adversity, dealing with the games and stuff that we've almost won and certain things like that. So really just trying to be like that positive person on the sideline, keep everybody in good spirits, then make sure everybody what I'm saying, when your number is called, just be ready to go.
But is there like something like maybe like defensively you think you need to clean up, or is it something on the offensive end?
Are you talking about me personally or just the team? Oh, me just stop fouling. That's pretty much it. I talk to the refs and stuff as much as I can. I'm still learning when it comes to guarding, guys in the post and little things like that. Like I said, it's a lot of shots that I can go for. It's a lot of stuff I can just let go, and just get us into an early offense on down the stretch. But at the end of the day, I'm still learning. It's only my third year, I would say. I'm still taking it one step at a time, not really just trying to rush anything. I get frustrated here and there, but it's a process. So main thing I have to do is just trust it day in, day out. It's going to fall into place like a puzzle.
Speaking of learning, what do you learn when you go up against a guy who's been around as long as like Marcus Aldridge has? Or like other players of that caliber that are just so experienced? I would imagine they have little tricks to the trade that you kind of need to see up close, right, to learn what they do.
Yeah, they found their niche, especially when you got coaches, reaching out and touching the ball and found their niche, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, just going up against guys like that, it's real good for me because going up against guys that has a lot of years under their belt, it shows me the certain things that I could be able to do when I get in that position as well. So just really just nitpicking and watching film and really studying the things that they do and studying how they do it, their body language, what they do when they're on the floor, what they don't do when they're on the floor, little things like that, just nitpicking, trying to find the certain things that have gave them success throughout their career and try to implement that with me as well.
Has there ever happened where you go up against, I don't know if it's Aldridge or any experienced big man, when you see them do something very subtle where immediately you like say, okay, I'm going to do that, and you kind of add it to your game?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I watch film on a lot of bigs in this league that really guard the pick and roll well. And just how, I've always been somewhat of a drop big and stuff, but I want to be able to be in a position to where I can come out and at least help the guards when they're getting, crushed on screens or anything like that, and just have the aggressiveness and the tenacity, just be able to be up there for my teammate talk to them, let them know what side the screen is coming on, and also being up there on the floor lined up with it, whether we have to blitz or I have to show, or if I just have to hedge in general, little things like that. Really just trying to up my defensive game to where I can excel in my career furthermore throughout the time that I'm in the league.
And what was it like getting Wes Unseld back today? Did you guys welcome him back in a particular way?
It was just business as usual. Everybody seen him. He came in and said hey to everyone, shook everybody's hand, gave everybody hugs. We missed him. So he came back in and he was locked in from the beginning. We went in, watched film, and he was locked in from the jump, ready to go. And that's just West Coast. That's just Coach West for you.
You guys watch film today?
Yeah.
What's it like when you have a mistake that, just generally speaking, when you say you make a mistake in a game in a key moment, and that's like highlighted in front of the whole team? What's that feeling like for those of us who have never felt that?
I mean, it's just a feeling of accountability that you have to hold yourself to, and the team is going to hold you to. When it comes to that, you really can't, I would say argue it. You can't say anything. You just have to, take it and figure it out from there. You can't really just, I would say, have a negative outlook on it, because if you do, it's just going to go downhill. It's like a domino effect. You say one thing wrong, and then everything else is going to come out the bag. So really just having a positive mindset with it, hold yourself accountable, and really just, take up from where you left off. That's the main thing. Learn from it and fix it. That's something that I've always done, especially when I've gotten called out. I get called out time and time again, but I don't really have a negative look at it. Sometimes I get frustrated, but at the same time, they're right, because there's a lot of guys on this team that, have a lot of faith in me and lets me know that I can be better, way better than what I've been playing, and little things like that. So I'm holding myself accountable to be able to be better in all the areas that I have messed up in, for sure.
Did it take time to learn how to do that? Because I just know, I'm sure all of us in our own experience know when you make a mistake, it's the instinct to get defensive.
Yeah. Yeah. It took some time for sure. I would say coming here after the trade, that's when I for sure locked into on how to actually, I would say approach it. But before that, yeah, I would cut you out quick. and it wouldn't be on purpose. It's just instinct, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you did this. Well, okay, forget, you know what I'm saying? Stay over there before some other negative stuff happened in here in this film room. But yeah, over the time that I've been in the league, I've just been slowly really just grasping the fact that, you got to hold yourself accountable in certain situations, especially if you mess up in that situation, so.
All right, Gaff, let's transition over to Zoom. We'll start with Chris Miller.
Hey, Gaff, earlier you said that you're used to this 3-center lineup. Last year, Alex was the guy that kind of started the game, played a few minutes and sat. And for the last 2 games, you've kind of taken over that role. Did you ever have any talks with him last year of how do you handle starting a game but have to sit for the rest?
I never had talks with him. I just always really was just right there beside him, trying to really just, I would say, motivate him, because, the 3 big rotation, it is tough because one day, you might be starting, playing back and forth, getting back in and stuff. And then one day you might be starting and then you're sitting for the rest of the first half and then start the second half and sit for the rest of it. So main thing is, just really just being there for him, being a good teammate, trying to motivate him, tell him to keep his head up and just stay ready. That's the main thing.
And as a follow-up, when you guys are playing so many guys, do you notice kind of the rhythm of the game being off, or is this just a byproduct of just trying to get guys reacclimated to the team?
It could be a little bit of both, to be honest. I really can't even put my finger on it, really. It's just a lot of stuff out there that we're trying to figure out as the game goes on. And, it's a lot of stuff that we can fix, I would say. But sooner or later, we'll figure it out. It's on us, not the coaches. It's on the players for sure.
Thanks, Gav. Appreciate it.
We'll go over to Neil.
Hey, Daniel. Tommy Shepard is a very, player relationship, driven kind of guy. Has he had any conversations with you, during this, somewhat inconsistent amount of playing time for you to just kind of reassure you at all?
Main thing he says is just stay ready, just like any other coach on the team. They really just tell me to stay ready because, everybody knows when I'm frustrated, they can see it. It's it's not easy to hide my frustration. So when they notice it and stuff, they always pull me to the side and just let me know to stay ready and just whenever I get out on the floor, do what I always do. That's the main thing, you know. But now I'm like I said, I'm still learning how to get the full grasp of just like staying locked in, staying positive, and just being there for my teammates. Because I mean, playing time isn't promised. Playing time can happen and it can't happen. So at the end of the day, I just want to do what it takes to be able to help the team win. And if that's me sitting on the sideline cheering guys on, I will for sure do that.
And I guess what were some of the points of emphasis during practice today to try and take forward in the next couple games you guys have left on the homestand?
Really just, I would say just like the defensive end and turnovers, you know. I don't know, I forgot how many we had last night, but that's just the main thing, really just focusing and locking in on the turnover part of the situation and really just focusing on also not letting teams speed us up. There's a lot of teams out there that like to switch 1 through 5. There's a lot of teams out there that like to, you know, do a lot of stuff to Brad to keep him from touching the ball and stuff. So we have to learn through all those circumstances on how to take care of the ball and how to get the right people the ball too.
Thanks, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Wayne.
What's up, Gaff? Just was curious. You came out and dominated against the Raptors. What looked so easy for you out there in that beginning stretch?
Say that one more time.
I said, what looked so easy for you out there in the beginning stretch? Because you came out and just dominated against the Raptors.
Really just one of the things JB had said when we were in the locker room and stuff, he was saying just come out and throw the first punch, you know, and Brad would always follow up behind him. It has to start with the first 5. So, I mean, I didn't want to come out and just let them throw the first punch and then, boom, we're playing catch up at the end of the first quarter. I wanted to come out and be up, you know, either by the time we call the first time out, either they call the first time out or we do. But I wanted to be up for sure, and I wanted to come out, and I wanted to set the tone on the glass. I wanted to set the tone energy-wise. I just wanted to set the tone throughout all areas that would help us win the game, you know, no matter the outcome that we had, even though we lost that game. I just wanted to come out and just be able to throw the first punch and let the guys know that, hey, we came to play. So let's go out, whether you count coming off the bench or you're starting, come out and just play basketball.
Thank you, Gaff.
And we will finish up with Christos.
Hey, Daniel, hope you're doing well. Speaking about your pick and roll on offensive end, how could you describe the level of communication with Bradley, Spencer, and the other guards of the team?
You said the communication with pick and rolls, right?
Yes.
Really just letting them know how guys guard the pick and roll. You know what I'm saying? If we got a big that's in a drop, you know, I'm going to set the screen and get you to a position to where you can attack the basket. I tell Spence that. I tell Brad that too. I let them know where, you know, throw the pass. I let them know if guys are coming off, helping from the weak side and trying to chop block me to keep me from rolling. And I tell them, like, open side pick and rolls are our bread and butter for sure as well. So the communication is there, and we execute it all the time. We just have to really just be consistent with it. That's the main thing. But the communication is there. I talk to those guys all the time. They talk to me. They let me know how to set the screen. They tell me to make sure nobody gets up under my screen and make sure I just hit somebody.
And also after those 2 losses against the Nets and last night against the Raptors, how important for you guys is to turn the frustration into a motivation for the next games?
It'll be real easy for sure because, you know, we came out and did it in the first quarter against Toronto. I mean, you know, we ended up losing in the end, but, you know, we turned the page for sure, letting all that frustration from the Brooklyn game turn over to the next page to where we can go for Toronto. But we got another chance when we come out and play Boston. We can for sure come out and set the tone and be able to come out with a win for sure.
Thank you very much.
All right, Daniel, all set.
All right, cool.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
Feel great. You know, it was a bit of a surprise, in all honesty. You feel a little under the weather, you know, after a back-to-back and a little run down, but I was surprised when I found out I had the positive test. You know, turned into mild symptoms the next day or 2 after that, but for the most part, it was thankfully nothing serious.
Is your family okay?
Yeah, family's doing well. My wife did, you know, test positive, and she kind of was a day and a half behind me as far as symptoms, but hers were mild as well, and thankfully the kids have been negative since. So far so good.
All right, the most important part. was it like for you to have to watch football?
It's hard. I mean, it's kind of a unique situation being away at that time. I think there's a rhythm to the season that we've all kind of gotten accustomed to. Kind of the preseason buildup, regular season starts. You get to the break, and that's a time where you kind of decompress for a little bit. But to have it happen at that time just didn't feel right. And to watch us play is you're looking at it through a different lens. Where you're connected as far as game plan. You talk to the coaches and the staff, and you reach out and touch players here and there, but you're not there. So there's a distance. It's kind of a weird dynamic, but it also allows you to kind of look at it from a different perspective, from a holistic perspective. And you watch the games live, and take your notes and this, that, and the other. But it's weird.
Is there also a level of helplessness in a way, or
I mean, to an extent, because you can't just make a change, or you can't dictate a change or substitution or a play call. You have to trust that your guys are going to make the right reads and have a feel for some of the adjustments. And I give those guys credit. I mean, I think they've done a tremendous job under tough circumstances. It's easy when you can anticipate, if it were an injury of some kind and you had some time leading up to maybe formulate your thoughts. This was unscripted. I go down, Pat goes down, and JB's kind of like the next man up. So it's not easy to manage, to kind of circle the wagon, so to speak, and keep things afloat. But it is what it is. And I could give those guys credit for, doing the best job they could.
JB's case at 9:40 a.m. call on
Yeah.
2 p.m. tip.
Yeah, it was tough because, I think we all have responsibilities and we plan accordingly, and that changed, instantly. So, how do you respond? We ask that of our players when, players are out with COVID or absence, injuries, what have you. Unfortunately, the staff's kind of still going through it. So, we are 46 going on 47 games in, and, we have our full roster complement. We've yet to see the full staff and roster, in concert. So it'd be exciting once we get everybody back and to see how it looks.
Just how far is the staff down right now? You can't keep track.
Well, yeah, we've gotten guys back, some guys, and right now Pat's still out, obviously. Ryan Richmond is still out. So those are kind of like the last two pieces we're working on getting back.
I understand that TV back, they have to play.
Yes.
Because they have to be integrated, and yet because there are some sorts of restrictions, it wouldn't take minutes for you have to play a lot of people cardboard.
Right.
How does getting back, how does playing, say, 11 guys, which you have to do, impact a team?
It's a challenge for sure. I mean, there's a rhythm to playing. Fair or unfair, this game is about rhythm, and some guys may get squeezed because you're playing 11, sometimes 12 guys by design, and it's choppy at times for certain guys in the starting group, knowing that they'll get their full complement of minutes, but they're not going to have those normal stretches. As TB Rui get away from maybe some of those restrictions, I think it'll help clean it up. But that's when we may have to, dial it back to a solid 9, 9.5 man rotation, and allows everyone kind of their routine minutes and hopefully get a rhythm, with the groups that are out there. He had to carry it. Now that you're back.
Right. Yeah. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Were you part of the film section today?
Yes.
Did you hear that?
Yep.
When you guys have a play like the putback by O'Hannon, it's a big moment, and obviously you guys don't want to have that. What's that like in a film session when you have to highlight something like that? It's so magnified.
Well, I mean, I think you have to take it in context. It's that particular play is unfortunate. But we've seen them throughout the season where it seems like a little thing, but it's big. If that type of action happens in the second quarter, no one gives it a second thought. Bad bounce, mistiming, offensive putback. All right, it's 2 points. But because it happens at that juncture of the game, it becomes kind of the thing. That's what I don't want to harp on. Sure, you touch on it, you address it, and that you want to eliminate those type of plays, but that's not why we lost. And I've said this plenty of times. There's so many other plays throughout the game. It's easy to look at the last possession, the last 10 seconds, and say, well, we lost because of that. That's not why. The runs that team made, last night crushed us. Obviously, we had to run, our own run to get back into it, down 18. So, I have to give our guys credit for continuing to fight. You tie the game up with 1:10. It's a ball game. You're back into it. But, of course, you don't want to give up, easy putbacks at that point in the game. But that's certainly not, the reason.
Yeah, that's interesting. You don't want to make too much of one thing just because of the timing of it. But what have you kind of learned about, when you do have to call out a moment, call out a player in front of everybody in the session, just kind of the right way to do it?
Yeah, I think you address it. I don't think it has to be personal. I think at this point we've done enough of that where guys know it's coming from a good place. We're trying to teach and clean things up. We're not trying to embarrass anybody. And I've joked with guys like, we don't pick the clips, you guys do. And they understand, they're professionals. So yeah, it's uncomfortable, I'm sure, to be called out. No one wants to be called out. But it's not personal. And how can we take some of the things we did or didn't do, learn from it and grow? And when you do that, you hope not to repeat those same things. So that's the mindset. And I think most of our guys have bought into that. They're not concerned with, this feels personal or uncomfortable. It's how can we grow from this?
All right, Coach, let's transition over to Zoom. We'll start with Chris Miller.
Wes, first and foremost, I'm happy that you're back and you're safe and healthy, you and your family.
Thank you.
I want to make sure I heard you right. By playing 11 guys, you said this is, quote, by design. How long do you think this will last? Because as you said, the game is a rhythm, and obviously the players are, trying to say the right things, but clearly everyone knows that, the game of basketball is all about rhythm and finding one. How long do you think playing 11 guys will last?
I don't want to give it a number of games or a specific date. Obviously the medical side will determine, if we can get these guys up to a certain threshold. I think that it's an easier conversation. But there's no other way to implement and reintegrate those guys without having to go through this. We talked about it before I, had to sit out for a few games that, this certainly is not ideal. You do this in training camp, but these are kind of the cards we've been dealt, and the timing's not, it's imperfect. So we have to take the opportunity now, because you think about, we've got 36 games left to play. So it's not, not a ton of games. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's not. You get through the break and all of a sudden you have 24, that's the tail end of the season. Those games really start to amplify. When you look at the seeding, the standings, one or two spots can make a huge difference. So that sense of urgency that we had at the beginning of the season, we've got to get that back. And to do that, you need that unit at some point to coalesce. So, playing 11, 12 guys right now, but we're going to have to whittle it down.
And, you talked about at the end of the game situations, making a comeback. Really, the story of the game last night were the middle quarters getting outscored 71-47. How do you clean that up? You got off to a good start. That's something that you wanted to get cleaned up. That got fixed. Mm-hmm. But those middle quarters really hurt you. Why?
Well, obviously last night the turnovers crushed us. The urgency, I think, that we had in the fourth, obviously because we had to, we have to see that throughout the game. That mindset, that collective want, where, guys are on the same page. The energy level is high, but we're connected. And I think at times when you get down, you become desperate. Well, we need that desperation for as close to 48 minutes as possible.
We'll go over to Neil.
Hey, Coach. Just want to echo, glad that you and your family are back, healthy. I know it might be hard to say, but do you expect or hope that Pat and Ryan can be back before the end of this homestand?
Yeah, I'd like them back tomorrow, but I can't speculate. I think it's, the protocols are in place and we have to kind of just wait it out. Hopefully they meet the benchmarks to allow them to exit the protocol sooner than later. It's tough. I mean, Ryan's been away for quite some time. And I was 7 days, felt like a lifetime, but they're both doing well. And so thankfully it's just, I'm sure, fighting that, a little bit of boredom, probably a little frustration, but they just have to kind of bide their time and do the best they can until we can get them back.
And for Rui and TB, is there a, kind of set minutes restriction on them right now, 25, 28, or is it more of a, fluid range?
Yeah, I think they're both in that 18, 20-minute window. I think it's a decent number. Obviously we have to, figure out how that works for, the other pieces involved. But, to Josh's point, at some point the minutes become crunched. And, I think once we kind of get those guys up to speed, it'll work itself out, and we'll have to kind of make some decisions as far as how we progress going forward.
I guess, at least to me, it seemed like, that was pretty much what they were at when they initially came into the rotation as well. Is there any kind of benchmark that the medical staff is looking at to say, okay, now we can, push the envelope a little bit?
Yeah, I think we're starting to get there. There's no definitive, it's more on how they respond. And I think we'll see that too. We'll have that discussion with the back-to-backs coming in February. I think we have 3, in February, and see how TB tolerates, those will kind of determine what we do on the back end of those games.
Thanks, Coach.
Christos.
Hey, Coach. First of all, welcome back. My question to you is, how would you explain those ups and downs during the games, especially last night's game? You're starting pretty well. You have some really bad stints during second and third quarter. How could you explain those ups and downs?
It's a tough one. I mean, we've seen this, unfortunately, throughout the season where, the emphasis and the one is to sustain our play. And we don't expect it to be perfect, but, it's complete shifts in the pendulum. And how do we avoid that? Our spacing, our timing, the turnovers, defensively, are we all on the same page? Are we all locked in? I think it's not just one, particular thing or by one person. I think it's there are certain issues that seem to kind of resurface, but we get away from playing the certain way that we start. It gets good to us, and can we find a way to sustain a little bit of success? And that's the challenge. So it's tough because we think you can't say it's one particular issue. I think that some of those things compound themselves where, you turn the ball over. Of course, it's going to affect your defense. You're not getting shots to the rim. You're not getting shots off. You're not valuing your possessions. So, of course, there's a point differential. I think they're all tied in, but it's not one particular thing that we can point to say, well, that's the reason.
And also, one of your goals from the beginning of the season until now was to limit the bad habits on your game. How satisfied you are about that?
If I had to give it a scale, I'm not completely satisfied, no, because we've seen, some correction in some of the habits, and we've seen regression in others. So I think it's going to be a constant, work in progress. How do we, find a level of consistency where these are some things, some standards that we hold ourselves to, we hold each other accountable to. We don't deviate from that. I think if we can get to that point, we'll see, an uptick in our consistency.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Wayne?
Hey, Coach, good to see you. Welcome back, and I'm glad your family's okay.
Thank you.
I want to dial it back to the perspective. After being on the sidelines and then you're watching it from home, is there anything that you can say like, wow, maybe I can implement this, or things you might have caught that you maybe wouldn't have seen on the sideline?
Well, I think to that point, you look at it differently, because I think when you're in the moment, you're trying to plug holes. Wherever you see an advantage, you try to take advantage of that. You don't like a matchup, you may switch that on the fly. Your substitution pattern may change. Your play calls, you don't really have any control over that when you're watching it on TV. So it's just more of a holistic approach, and it's frustrating because, you feel removed and distance. We have conversations with the staff and throughout the day after the game, about the film the next morning. They did a great job as far as streaming the practices and the shoot around. So at least I could watch and feel somewhat connected. But you do try to find, little nuanced things where, expanding a certain package for certain guys. So we toyed with some things this morning. It's not completely divergent from what we've done, but just adding little wrinkles to certain things and maybe give us an advantage and put guys in different spots.
And lastly, Coach, I know you're happy to be back, but how cool was it to see Coach Pat and Coach JB just get that opportunity?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, that's in essence what it's about. I benefited from that, in those situations where, you're the lead assistant, the coach is absent for whatever reason. He may get tossed in the middle of the game. He could be an illness and doesn't coach a game, and you have to step up and kind of insert yourself into that role. There's no greater experience for it than having to go through it. And you have a certain, idea, you think you do, of how it's supposed to go. And this is part of my growth this season, learning how to, navigate some of the pitfalls and the day-to-day, managing my time, managing people, all those things. It's in a small window, but that opportunity is invaluable.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
Neil, did you have a last question?
Yeah, sorry, Coach. Do you expect to have Kyle tomorrow?
I do.
Sounds good. Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Coach.